there and went by the original bylaws. Scott Drew joins us, Baylor men's basketball coach. Late night game last night. I got to tell you, man, I thought the atmosphere, the women's game against Utah at the beginning, what a great win for Nikki and company, and then yours as well. It seems like this student body's locked in right now.
Well, the students were awesome last night. You know, normally the later the better for them. A couple yawns from our coaches. I think I saw you yawning. Mac Roach might have had a yawn in there, but the students were definitely ready to go, and later it is better for them. If we could have probably played that at 11 or 12 at night. They would even been loud.
Yeah, well, maybe with some of the West Coast teams coming in next year, Scott, you can just do that. It works out well for both of you. They're on their time, you're on student time. You know, just have a cup of coffee before the game. You'll be all right.
Well, I guess the key is to make sure we get the win. So the women started it out in a great manner fashion. Huge win for them. Over a top 5 opponent. So excited for Nikki and her staff and the team. And then obviously we shot it a lot better than we did last game. So I'm excited about that.
Your team and the way that you're able to kind of roll through the bench right now before you always do this where you kind of find your 8 or 9 guys that you want in the rotation, but you've got some young guys that maybe are kind of performing over where they would be normally this year. How do you feel about your depth starting out?
Well, I think first of all, let's talk about our depth, and we feel real confident with any of the 11, and that's a luxury because we all know that during the course of the season, you'd love to go through without an injury, without a sprained ankle, without any illnesses. But normally that happens, and you have to have people ready to step in, number one. And then number two, in college, you practice more than you play. And how your team improves is by quality in practice. So iron sharpens iron, and that's something that we believe in. And the deeper our teams have been, the better we've gotten throughout the course of the year because of that.
Scott, is there anything particular, and you're never going to be satisfied unless you're cutting down the nets at the very end of the year, but is there anything on defense that you feel like must get better?
Oh, well, in the beginning of the year, everything has to get better because if you don't, you're not going to be where you want to go. We often equate it to starting to climb on a mountain, and if you're not going up, you're getting past. So we're constantly trying to get better in all fashions and facets, and the offenses and defenses we face will get better as they scout us and also as they get better at what they're doing. So with us defensively, right now we're top 25 in Ken Palm Analytics, top 25 offensively. So that's a good start. Now we just have to get better.
Coach, you got some newcomers that everybody's getting to know here early on, and Jacoby Walter, obviously, in that first game just burst onto the scene, but last night, Jayden Nunn, I know you probably don't love the turnovers necessarily, but the points and the threes and all of that. Tell us about Jayden Nunn and just your experiences with him thus far, his role on this team, and what you're expecting of him.
Well, Jayden is somebody that comes to practice with a smile every day, and anybody that is an energy giver, a great teammate, you enjoy coaching. And he wants to get coached. He wants to get better. He listens well. And this group as a whole has been very good with that. Things that we've suggested, said, they've been very receptive to and really tried hard to get and do what we ask of them. So that's a blessing. They like one another. So as you know, at the end of the day, if you like who you work with, you're going to perform better. But with Jayden, he's somebody that really has a tremendous ability to get to the free throw line, and that's something that this team as a whole has done a great job of, and hopefully that continues. At the same time, Jayden is outstanding on the other end of the court. And I know this summer when our vets came back and scrimmaged us, they all really appreciated that and liked that about him, is how hard he goes after it on the defensive end as well.
Scott, I was going to ask you about that specifically, and he's got a skill that, look, there are guys who can make steals and get them and be alert, but there are then the level of guys, and you had one with Davion, who can just – they know exactly when to swipe their hand at the ball as it's bouncing off the floor. Is that something I mean, I don't want to just use kind of a tired term, but is it like having the force where you just see the ball and like that differently? Because he is really particularly good at that.
Well, I think great athleticism, great quickness, but defensively you got to have a toughness, a grit about you, and he has that. And he has a motor. And if you look back, Davion, Mark Vital, some of our best defenders, they play with a motor, they play with an aggression, they play with a toughness, and obviously they had an athleticism that allowed them to do that. So those are all reasons why he is a successful defender. And with that, as you know, if people have to start their offense, it's kind of like a great pass rusher. If you're constantly putting pressure on the quarterback and he's throwing it early, it's not on time, on target. And when people start their offense further out, a lot of times they might be open, but by the time the ball is delivered or where it's delivered, it allows the other defenders to make up time from getting around screens or whatnot. So really important at that point guard. And we put him on the point guard some, and he's been really efficient there.
Scott Drew, men's basketball coach, with us on 365 Sports. Is it still kind of a delicate mix when it comes to the minutes for Jonathan Chamachachua? Is that still something you're working through? Is it cardio? Is it still not really sure about his leg?
Well, I think Jonathan, first of all, is a lot better player than he was last year. He's lost weight. He's more athletic. At the same time, we're really blessed with Eve has really played well, and Josh has really improved. So you have three bigs that are all more than capable, and right now it's been better that we play one at a time for us as a team, and hence you have one on the court and then two off. And John is somebody that was, remember, Defensive Player of the Year the year that he got injured, and that was based on a half a season. So he's done an amazing job in recovering from the injury. But at the same time, as you know, there's nobody in college basketball playing with the same condition he has right now. So he's done an amazing job to get back to where he is today. And it gives us a great mix and a great blend now with Josh and Eve. And we see who's playing best and go with that.
How do we feel about the haircut for John? I mean, it's a departure.
Well, I can tell you, sometimes when people don't cut the hair, they might get an extra 2 or 3 inches. But I tell you, Jonathan is just first class in whatever he does, and he's going to win every interview.
Absolutely,
with the way he presents and carries himself, and again, behind the scenes, why we're successful year in and year out is because of the leadership we have, and John's a big part of that this year as well. And every day, Josh, Eve, and John all get better competing against each other.
No question. Ashley Hodge brought up that there had been critique about the end of the half success, but for a couple of games in a row, it looks like you've executed great at the end of the half. What is your philosophy there?
Players make plays. So I know Ray J's had a couple great ones, and a lot of times at the end of the clock, people take a bad shot, and he's done a great job in getting the ball to an open person that is a higher percentage shot than trying to force it himself. And as far as when we go and what we want in the last second shot, the team has executed what we'd like, because at the end of the day, we want the last shot. We don't want to give somebody else the last shot.
Great start to the season. The Auburn game was unbelievably intense. You have Oregon State down the road. That's next. And then Seton Hall, Michigan State, Duke. Man, what a great run. You're going to know, as you always do, who you are by the time
trying to ruin my day off?
Yeah.
You're trying to ruin my day.
Well, how important, though, that opening game with Auburn, because that was a just absolutely great basketball game to watch. Reminded me of almost a tournament atmosphere. To play that, how many people play that in game one, especially on a neutral site?
Well, first, it was a great platform for Baylor University, the Big 12 Conference. And then going into it, you had two teams that have won 3 championships since 21 in the SEC and the Big 12, 5 times been ranked number 1, both been to the Final Four. And the concern I had was they returned 5 of their top 7, and that's a big advantage early in the year with us only having one player that returned playing over 20 minutes a game. So really pleased with obviously the outcome of that game, but being down late showed a lot of grit, character, toughness from our guys, and we learned a lot about each other that night, I thought.
Thank you very much for your time, Scott. We appreciate it.
Hey, thank you guys for all you do. Have a
Baylor
blessed day.
men's basketball national championship head coach Scott Drew with us on 365 Sports.